I walked into the back room, hoping to see Amphetamine Jane drinking another cocktail made from grease cutter and wine. She was there all right, sucking on something made with expensive gin. Not good gin, not the kind that makes you smell like a Christmas tree, but the strong kind, the kind that will peel your lips into an evil grin if you let it, either pair. I put a little grass in the end of a cheap cigarette so that I wouldn't have to kill whoever had brought her that gut rot. Jim had gone to the other side of town to injure some teenage pukes who'd poisoned his mother's dog. And it was too bad because he would have been useful, keeping me from getting too upright or hateful over Jane's new plaything. He was tall, maybe 6'5", and thin, with short cropped hair on the back of his head and a kind of gull's wing for bangs covering half of his face. His back arched forward from the shoulder blades to the neck, and his head craned 45 degrees from his soft-bred shoulders. He looked like someone had poured duck's milk into 3 beakers, balanced them on top of one another, and put a wig on top of it. He didn't sit on his stool, he leaned back into it, and his ass ended up in the right spot because of his proportions, high hips, short spine, and I thought, coke dealers are getting more unfit for purpose all the time. I knew I could kick that stool out from under his puckered anus, and that all that might slow it down was the suction. But I still had guilt in me from pushing over that row of mopeds in front of the bookstore on Pacific. The place is called Lagos, pronounced Lagos. But the people who ride those fucking scooters call it Logos. The guilt would pass. I made eye contact with Jane, but she pretended it didn't happen. So I walked up to Milk Boy, put my boot between his Nikes, took what remained of Jane's drink, poured it into his, necked half of it, and walked away with the rest. He didn't even whine. If I'd done that to my coke dealer, Mario, I'd have a boot heel in my sacrum. I found Jim sitting behind a bush across the street from the squat op where the dog poisoners were flopped. I put my electric unicycle in a dumpster behind the building, squatted down behind the bush, sidled up to him, and started asking questions. If I go in there, he said, I'm going to kill those kids. I know, I said, what do you want to do? Chipper shredder. Naturally, I said, but what are we going to do actually? I handed him a weed-capped cigarette and tried to give him a look of understanding. You're right, he said. I'll wait, put it off till I'm cooler. Just hurt him. Then he lit up and thanked me. You have the finest manners of anyone I know, I told him, and it was true. Jim was black as night. Still is, if he's still alive, God willing. He wore a cowboy hat and rode a skateboard, I kid you not. He was the one that Mario got his style from. He would bum a cigarette, but never your last one. Or never your second to last. That was a weird spacing there. If you had an idea, he was always game. But what proved to me that he was a fine man was... That's weird, there's a big long space there, I don't know why. Was the fact that he would never entertain white guilt. If you ever tried to get his perspective as a man of color in America, he would curtly but politely change the subject. He cured me of that ugly habit, and he never had to say a word about it. Good old Jim. He finished his grass cap, and I could tell he felt calmer. I'm still angry, he said, but I've got some distance. I left my wheel behind the building, I told him. You want to shoot some pool? He did. There is a white cat in Santa Cruz. It's a ghost. An angelic double agent, or maybe a clone army, genetically optimized with psychedelic pheromones that can diffuse a bar fight with a psychoactive fart. Most people don't even believe in it, but I've seen it. I've seen it turn a would-be rapist into mush. I've seen it take a nail shop slaveholder and set his whores free and hand them cash on their way out. There were times when I thought the white cat might see me as a less innocent party. And it was enough to get me back on track. Jim says he's never seen it, doesn't believe in it. I decided to prove it to him that the cat was real. Let's go to your place, I said. I need to charge my wheel. Why don't you get a proper skateboard, he asked. They're slow, I told him. If you want me to run errands with you, buy me dinner, he said. Fine, I agreed.